Okay, so it is October 15th, and it's time to get rolling on our weekly political panel. Here's Louisa, here's Bill. You guys ready to go?
Yep.
Of course, always.
You sound super excited. We need to
It was
rehearse that
fun.
ready to go thing so that we can be really ready to go. Okay.
Just for the record, everybody, Louisa did this to my head.
Yeah. What's that? I thought you were going into boot camp or something
That's
like
because he
that.
was mouthy to me. That's what he gets.
So, okay. All right. So we'll come back to that later in another episode. Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things, but so we have talking about some of the judges and justice in Claremont County and some of the stories that we have. We know we focus on this a lot, but it's one of the areas that's extremely important to all citizens and where hopefully we can have an impact on improving the justice system. It's something that can be a little sleepy and you don't even know who's running it or what's going on, and you like to take for granted that it's fair. But a lot of the same things that you see happening nationally in court systems, they happen in every court system, including in our local court system. So before we get to that, though, we're going to have a quick sign update from Louisa on particularly our number one focus on the sign update now is, and I've never gone out on a sign update check. So any law
Gotta put that in there, Chris.
Any law enforcement watching know that I've not done. But anyway, so let me put this up here. So this was Greg Simpson's house 2 weeks ago. And you see Mr. Simpson out there. So he's kind of become the chaplain, as we call him, the spiritual man of the Claremont GOP. This is 2 weeks ago. And then let me go forward here one. Sorry, my bad. I got this picture in here. That's the chaplain praying with members of our law enforcement community. I accidentally got that picture in there. Look at him in prayer, with some of the detectives. Beautiful man for his outreach to law enforcement. Yeah. And you see the healing hand of the detective raising up there. But this was 1 week ago at the chaplain's house, 1 week ago at the chaplain's house. And so, Louisa, you went out to see the chaplain today. What did you find relating to his sign situation, and were you able to help him out by ministering any with some political signs?
I had a Bernie Moreno sign with me. I was on my way to go knock up at his door to find out if he needed a Bernie Moreno sign in his yard, but nobody was home. I actually took a drive up the road because I thought it was interesting that I didn't see any signs, and I saw two gentlemen standing outside, and I stopped and had a chat with them and wanted to know if maybe they had a HOA that no signs were allowed, and they said no, they don't have an HOA.
I already checked. I meant to tell you, I checked on that already. Yeah, they don't have an HOA in that neighborhood.
No. So I didn't find anything. I didn't find Mr. Simpson, and I didn't find any signs in his yard. No.
So it's just a shock. What was it you told me before we started? I don't know if you remember this. Before we started here tonight, you said maybe he doesn't have any signs because maybe in his ministry he's given all his signs to other people.
I think he's the reason why he wasn't home is because I think he was out putting signs.
He was out putting up signs for Republican candidates. Okay.
That's why he doesn't have signs in his yard, because he's giving them to other people to put in their yards.
So that's the update on the signs, and we have to plan more on the ministry to go to the chaplain's house with a bunch of signs. I know you had a Moreno sign. I think I could probably scrounge up a Trump sign out of my yard or out of my mom's yard or something. But maybe just to help the chaplain out a little bit in his spiritual work with campaigns. Okay, so now we're going to move into our next topic, which is on the judges. So, we have a bunch of judges that were on the graphic that some of us have stories. I wrote down stories. I have about like 5 of them.
Oh, I'm sure you've got a book, Chris.
But before we do that, just because we're nice people, is that, we wanted to maybe start with some positive things about any of the judges. So any judges that we have any personal experience with that are positive. So where we've had a positive experience with a Claremont County judge, and we think not just did their job, but have taken real steps to improve the justice system or shown a respect for the role. Okay.
So I'll take that because I seem like I'm the only one that has had positive experiences with judges in the county. So I start with Kevin Miles. Kevin is an outstanding judge. He's always been fair. I've sat in his courtroom, watched him many times, and when he was a municipal court judge, I felt like he was firm but fair, which you want in a judge. And a couple of things about Kevin is, Kevin is the type of guy, he'll work hard. He's had a capital murder trial case that he had to hear, and he worked his butt off on that case. And unfortunately, I feel like the prosecutor's office could have done more on that case. We won't get into them tonight, but Kevin's a good judge. And
it's hard not to get into the prosecutor's office, but keep going. I respect that you're avoiding getting into the prosecutor's office.
It's because we go down that rabbit hole. It's going to be 10 o'clock. Kevin's the kind of guy that he's personable. He answers the phone. I asked him a question. I said, as a judge in Clermont County, have you, and hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this. I don't think he would, but I've asked him if he's ever had death threats or if his family, if he's ever been approached in public. And he says it's rare, but occasionally they've had judges have gotten death threats and family have gotten death threats in this county.
I've gotten death threats.
It's probably the last name was Fraley. So Kevin, and then of course you guys, I don't need to go into Anita. You guys know how I feel about Anita. I felt that Anita has been a great judge, pressing the health issue. I know there was some question about her actions and things, but Anita had, and I won't get into her personal health issues, but she's addressed those and is on the healing path, and she'll be back if she's not already back and active again. So I think those are two judges, one from municipal, one from common pleas, that I've had, that I personally know, and I think they're good judges. Some people probably don't think they're good judges if they got a speeding ticket and they were found guilty.
If they got locked up by them, they probably don't think they're a good judge.
Yeah.
Louisa, what about you? What's your
I say the same thing about Judge Kevin Miles. And for people out there that are listening in, Judge Kevin Miles is a common pleas court judge. Judge Anita Beckman is a municipal court judge. Judge Kevin Miles, Chris and I were just talking a little bit before the podcast, and I said, one thing about Kevin Miles is that the way he treats you with respect, you just have the same thing for him. You have that respect for him. So even if you came before him with a case, unfortunately, the three of us have probably had judges recuse themselves because of who we are. And so we've had visiting judges. But Kevin Miles has always said, I will give you guys a call and find out if you're okay with me judging or not. And if not, I'll recuse myself. And just by him doing that shows the kind of respect he has for you. And in turn, you want that respect back to him. And even if he had to judge your case and he didn't judge in a positive way, and if you didn't win, you would still respect him for his judgment just because of who he is. So Judge Kevin Miles gets a 10 out of 10 from me. And same thing, he's always been straight. He's always been very informative. He's always helped out. And I think out of all the judges we've got in Clermont County, I think he's one of the best ones that we have.
All right. So I will say that I've had experience with Ken Miles on a case that was a remnant of there was a records case that was tied in with my 2018-ish commissioners throwing me out of a meeting case. And there was one meeting that was still an open case. And Jennifer Kinsley had been the attorney and she became a judge. So I became pro se on that case. And he was, it ultimately got settled. And he was a gentleman throughout. And what I appreciated, I've had those same observations that you guys have had. There was a question about, because he was for endorsement or whatever, he had a scheduling call, something I'll highlight some of these judges that would never do this, where he had myself and the other counsel on. and the county's lawyers on, which were outsourced. He had us on and asked if either of us had an objection to him being on the case, and if they did, he would recuse himself. And I had no objection to it. The other thing I found with him is that what he was going to do, like a scheduling order, which people might not know what that means, but it's a judge saying when things have to be in, like when discovery is, when this is, when this is. He always had a call about the dates to make sure both parties were amicable with the dates. And when we got on a track to have a settlement, I feel like he did the work that a judge could do to try to make sure that the parties could amicably settle it so that it avoids, an elongated process. So I have a, positive view of Kevin, and I do that I don't have any personal relationship with Kevin Miles whatsoever. But just in the experience that I had with him on a case where it actually invited the other Judge Brock. I've had a case with him when I tried to stop pot shops in Union Township on a zoning thing, but I never had any interaction with him whatsoever. In that was just a couple paper filings and it ended up going nowhere. So, all right, so that's those. Now let's go and put up these. So
I just want to make an announcement for the record. For everybody watching, Chris Hicks said something positive about an elected official in Claremont County.
Please do not advertise that. So I'm gonna be trying to have to find something that Kevin Miles. I have to go to his court to see him, so whether he's doing something wrong, I can bitch about. No, okay. So let's go. So I made notes on some of these. I held them up before on some of these, but I don't want to. How about this? Because I've had experience with quite a few of these people. Well, why don't you? Who wants to go first? Who wants to pick?
I'll talk about Judge Margaret Clark.
Why didn't you let me say I'm going to see? Louisa is going to talk about Margaret Clark.
Yes, Louisa, you always talk about Margaret Clark.
So
people are aware of that, so you can summarize your Margaret Clark. Let me. I'm gonna put my head down right now. Because I'm gonna get a little shut eye while you're talking.
Well, please don't do that, because that's what Margaret Clark does in the middle of hearings. She falls asleep. So, needless to say, moving on, Margaret Clark seems to have a rehearsed speech for every case that she has. Myself, including probably 4 or 5 other people that I know of that have had Judge Margaret Clark as a visiting judge. So Judge Margaret Clark is a retired judge who then comes back into our courts as a visiting judge. Like Chris has said before, we just don't seem to understand. So you age out at 70 as a judge, and then you brought in to court to become a visiting judge. So it's just
while you're at the same time not keeping sharp because you're not doing it every day.
Right.
Right, so, you're fishing or doing whatever, and then you come in to do the case.
So Judge Margaret Clark has a reputation for just having a rehearsed speech when she comes into a hearing. And her rehearsed speech is, I don't know anything about this.
I don't know what's going on here.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Where's the file? I don't even have the file in front of me. That's what she did to me. And then kind of just opened it up and was like, well, I'm just going to rule because, I just think it's a good day or it's a bad day or, let's just dismiss it. So okay. Margaret Clark just has this rehearsed speech. Unfortunately, she did 2 weeks ago fall asleep in the middle of someone's hearing. To where she kind of nodded off and woke up.
Was it a boring hearing? Was it something interesting or boring shit?
You know what? I don't know. I'm not sure about this case. So I don't know. But, she then had to turn to the bailiff and say, I think I need a little water. Judge Margaret Clark.
That actually happened?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, that happened because she left her life alert at home. But
yeah. So Judge Margaret Clark, I really honestly, with all due respect,
just fucking effing retire.
Yeah, you must have been an awesome judge once upon a time, but not anymore. And please, I think you should just need to stay home.
Tell you what, since you started with Margaret Clark and you started with the sleeping story, why don't we just kind of go across the chart and see what any of us had to say? So Judge Jerry McBride, I want to comment on Judge Jerry McBride. He blatantly I know some lawyers that he permanently tainted. He had a reputation as being one of the better ones. That got permanently tainted when he left David Ubel off the hook on complete bullshit. That David Ubel had been charged supposedly in the wrong venue when the transaction, you guys know what I'm talking about. Other people don't. But venue is what county you're charged in. David Ubel was charged in Claremont County, and then McBride totally let him off the hook, claiming, oh, well, this was the wrong venue, when the transaction that was at the heart of the event took place in the Home Depot parking lot. And that was testified to in the court, on Beachmont. And where is the Home Depot on Beachmont located?
Claremont County.
Claremont County. Okay, so Judge McBride, and then if you guys watch my Facebook page, his kids are super effing libtards, and they're constantly, they haven't for a while. Maybe I'll get them back here. I miss you guys, spouting off. His daughter, I asked her, because she go back and forth with me on Facebook. She claimed that her dad and mom had never talked to her about their views on abortion. Just let's take that in. A Republican judge, and the daughter's claiming she never knew what her dad's view on abortion was, that it was never something that came up in the household.
You know what amazes me about people on your page, Chris? And I've said, it kills me. They come to your page and they comment about things and give you more ammunition to use against the people they're trying to protect.
They're like,
mental note to you people. You want to be smart? Stop commenting.
Quit talking. I'm going to mute him. Hold on. No. Okay, quit talking. Quit talking. Quit talking. You guys got anything you want to say about Terry McBride?
I've never had dealings with Judge McBride. Thank goodness. I've had enough dealings with a lot of judges, so I'm glad I don't have a dealing with him.
He does a visiting judge gig, and I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. I'm trying to find out what the status of. Have you guys heard of the Afro Man case?
No.
Yeah.
With a black rapper and got raided and all this kind of stuff. So there's still a case, I think. Parts of it got dismissed, but he was the judge handling the case.
Oh, yeah.
He was the visiting judge in Brown County. He lives in Brown County now.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's keep going across here. So Judge Hine, another visiting judge, the judge that miraculously, if the case caption has the word Hicks in it, God forbid your name is Hicks and you're not me in Claremont County. Because if your name has the word Hicks in it in Claremont County, this visiting judge is going to be your judge. And I have nothing but bad things to say about him. And I'm glad I'm not a lawyer, because if I were a lawyer and I said that, I think I could get in trouble. But this guy is a fixer. He is a fixer. Okay. His lot, so that's all I'm going to say about Judge Hine right at this moment, since I have a matter before him. And he is, but we'll see how it all works out in the long run. But he's a cocky son of a bitch, and he is a fixer, and he is there for a certain reason.
Yeah,
and he will. I'm sure he will. And anything I do is.
Let's just get it all on the table tonight.
Yeah.
That's. And I understand that if you're a lawyer, you can't say shit like what I just said, because you're not allowed to. Just so people know, lawyers and judges are lawyers. They're all part of a club. They're self-regulating, and they penalize each other if they say anything bad about each other.
All right, time to go on a tangent. Put Paul's comment up. So Paul, when you're a parent, like you're a dad, you're supposed to kind of guide your kids. You don't need to choose their political party, but I think it's important to instill to your kids what you represent, what you stand for, and have that conversation. All three of my children, they obviously know where I stand politically, to the point where if they hear my phone ring and it's politics, they're like, get off, don't even answer it. I mean, they've got a complex at this point. But my son has his own views. He is supporting Trump, but he didn't the first time around. But he does now, because he's seen all the ignorance going on. My youngest daughter used to be pretty liberal, but when I took her out of Milford, magically, now that she's in a Christian school, her views have changed on her own to more conservative views. And that it's amazing how much school impacts the political views of the kids more than the parents, because she knew my views, but she was pretty liberal. She was in choir. and the Carpenters obviously are liberals, and a lot of choir people and drama people are pretty left. So her mind was being infiltrated into to buying into that nonsense. And she's admitted that to me now, looking back. She said, "Wow, I can't believe how influential."
I want to keep rolling on the judges here, but in reaction to this comment from Paul, pro-life is not a political view. The sanctity of human life is not a political view.
Right. So
it's a foundational moral and ethical view. And if you or anyone you know or your family does not instill foundational moral and ethical views in your children, then you shouldn't be a parent. Okay, because that is a fundamental thing. It's not like, a political choice. Frankly, I don't agree with the not knowing the politics of your, within your family, for example, because I think that one of the things that we need in our society is for people to be able to discuss politics without trying to kill each other, and to be able to have an intelligent discussion, and that you teach your kids how to have those kind of intelligent discussions. I see all the time in my neighborhood and otherwise kids that can't talk shit about shit, and they talk about nothing. They talk about bullshit and nothing. And when they ever are challenged to talk about, something that is, relevant or real, or where they're at a loss. And that's a shame, because that's not the way. So I can't disagree more. But in particular on pro-life, because that is not a political view. That's teaching your kids about the importance and the sanctity of life.
So Paul, to answer your that question, it's become a political platform because the left for many years they've wanted to take God out of the country. That has been a plan for many years, because if you remove God and you remove faith, you become a faithless, godless society, which we have become. And people have become very confused. I'm not saying that, we are freedom of religion in this country. I back that and believe it. But the founding fathers were a Christian faith-based group. And I do believe that, personally, I agree with Chris on this, take that as number 2. I agree with Chris. But I believe that it isn't a political platform, but it has become that, because if we make it a political platform, we can stand on it, we can change voters, we can manipulate. And I won't go too deep here, but I do want to mention this. One of the things that I was just talking to my sister, she's not a liberal, but she's not right. And we were talking about this today, early on, when it's just the idea of marketing over the last 70, 80 years has gotten to the point where they people are control people. So making things like this life a political platform, it gives you the ability to control people, and another mechanism to, hey, let's all vote together because we're pro-life, or let's go vote together because we're pro-choice. There's lots of people that are pro-choice that don't believe in abortion. They don't like abortion. They don't agree with abortion, but they believe in the choice of abortion. Me personally, I think if you're willing to murder babies, sorry.
All right. Let's get back to the judges.
Real quick.
That's why we do this, rabbit hole.
Proverbs 22:6 states.
Hold on, Bill fell asleep already. You just started talking, Margaret, and you went right to sleep.
Train up a child. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. That's how you need to train.
By the way, since we're in the rabbit hole, I just want to mention something, because I say this a lot. One of the things that I like to bring up to people is that our founding fathers believed in, they may have been Christian. I'm not, that, but one of the beauties is that they established the concept of that people make their own choices as to religion within a constraint. If you look at the Constitution, it doesn't say Jesus. It doesn't say this. It's referring to God and a higher power. They believed in inalienable rights that came from a higher power, and that power is above government. They never say that power. People can say, well, they're Christians. They were, but they didn't say Jesus Christ it doesn't say Jesus Christ in the founding documents. So they developed what would be called pluralism that allows for different religion, because everybody's got to remember they were all coming from a place that within Christian denominations, they were being persecuted. So they wanted to have freedom that you could be Catholic, you could be Protestant, you could be this, you could be that. You know, they were used to that the countries that they came from made certain denominations of Christianity legal and illegal. Okay. And that's what they were for, that people can make their own choices to religion. Okay. Let's get back on the judges and let's not try to get distracted. Jiminy Christmas. Okay. So we're up to Judge Farink. And either of you guys have any personal experience with Judge Farink?
No, but I think maybe you need to state that Judge Ference is actually up for retirement.
So he'll go into the visiting judge category.
Right. So Judge Nagel is actually running for his seat, and Judge Ference is a common pleas court judge. I have never had direct dealings with Judge Ference.
So Judge Ference is I did on a couple things, but the thing that stands out is when Jubal got convicted of, he pled to tampering with records for his petition fraud, which was his first crime thing. Farink gave no sentence. So when he got arrested the second time, there was no penalty. And so you know, a normal person in court, just so people understand this, if you got 90 days suspended or something like that, okay? What that means is if you go out and commit some other crimes, that gets unsuspended and you go to the Hooskow. But there was nothing in the sentence on Jubal in the first thing. There was no penalty. So when he was arrested, a normal citizen, the penalty from your prior offense that you were basically on probation for at that time would go into effect then. Because probation, I've never had this happen to me, but you're on community control is what it's called. And then if you commit more crimes, then the sentence from your thing that you're on community control for takes in. But he had put Jubal on nothing. So when Jubal got indicted on another set of crimes, there was no penalty. Okay. So let's move on to Judge Nagel. You guys get any personal experiences with Judge Nagel?
No, I just think that I'd like to comment a little bit about Judge Nagel in the municipal court. Judge Nagel, because I am a central committee member, I had a small claims case, and Judge Nagel made sure that he put an order in place in the municipal court that if I was going to go in front of municipal court, that all the judges needed to recuse themselves, including the magistrates. And this is where, I actually
Why?
Why? Because I'm a central committee member, and I guess I'm a red flag, just like you, Chris. That's why I said last week I'm going to change my name to Christina Hicks, because I'm starting to be categorized as Chris Hicks. But the problem, is I had this conversation with Judge Nagel and Judge Miles together, and this is where they differ. Where Judge Miles will pick up the phone and call you up and say, "Hey, Louise, are you okay with me judging on this
professional,
case?"
respectful.
But Judge Nagel didn't. And so for me, it's like, okay, so what? Are you now going to do this to every person on the central committee? Because God forbid you don't, and I find out about it, then I'm going to be on your case.
My only comment on Judge Nagel is that he absolutely lied and was involved in a cover-up to avoid the truth, to conceal the truth related to Judge Kramig. The more time has gone by, the more I realized that Judge Kramig's activities were an open, secret in the municipal court house. And these people in 2023, including Judge Nagel, and you cannot have judges lie. If a judge's natural instinct is not to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, then they should go seek some remediation outside of being a judge. Okay, what about Schreiber? I have no experience, zero with Schreiber. Okay. Do you have something on Nagel?
Well, no, I want to go back to Ference. So one of the things that I never realized, and maybe you can explain this, how does Jesse Kramig tie into the Ference case with Jubal? It says he dismissed the case in municipal court on October 25th. Why was that case under Jesse Kramig?
I have no idea. A lot of cases, the original indictments, I don't really know this, but the original indictments always start in municipal court, and then they go over to common pleas. So I don't know, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So I know there's a lot of things, like when you get originally arrested on something, if it was a felony thing, like a regular crime per se,
because you filed a private
It starts in
citizen's
it
affidavit.
municipal, and then you go to common pleas. I don't know if that
I
has
think
anything to do with what you're talking
Well,
about.
no, I think it's because you filed a private citizen's affidavit on
I
July
don't remember.
22nd, and then that put it through municipal.
I don't
So that's
remember
I just felt like that was interesting, and then I was reading through the appeals real quick because it's been so long ago. I've forgotten about this case.
So I don't remember that, but my memory's getting rough. Shriver, anybody Shriver? I've had no experience with him. I think Louisa, you've had experience with him. I don't know if
Oh
Bill,
my
if you had any
gosh!
experience.
Do you got a cup of coffee or a pot of coffee? Because Louisa's got a book.
Yes. So Judge Shriver, which again, I think it's very interesting that I have a small claims case in the municipal court and all the judges and magistrates recuse themselves from me. But yet I have a juvenile case in front of, at first, a magistrate called Masterson, which after doing some research, Masterson is actually a liberal. He has voted as a Democrat all his time that he's voted. And after I had an encounter with Magistrate Masterson in using his power as a magistrate to take away my passport with absolutely no reasoning, all of a sudden I was then pushed to Judge Shriver. When that happened and I made a big stink about it, I no longer went before Masterson, and Masterson took leave for about 4 months due to apparently a fall he had. That was a story, but it just happened right after that happened. Judge Shriver, I think at some point in time, and I wasn't in front of him during this time, I think he must have been an extremely good judge, because I have heard from people that Judge Shriver is a good judge. Judge Shriver does good things. I just think that Judge Shriver is getting old. He does age out. He turns 70, I think, this coming year. And so he will be up for retirement. And I think it's time. I think it's time because the county has grown a lot. He's not only a judge for the juvenile court, but he also oversees the probate court. And I don't think that he can handle the caseload. And therefore,
You don't think he can currently handle the caseload?
no, absolutely not.
Okay.
And therefore,
because of the caseload, or because of his getting older and not being able to process?
I think both, because our county has grown tremendously. I mean, we had 211,000 people. The caseload is a lot bigger than what it used to be before. And I don't think both ways. I don't think mentally and caseload he can handle. Therefore, there's a lot of cases that are taking forever.
And I don't care whether they say they're Republicans or Democrats. Our political system is dominated, even Trump, by old people, right. And old people need to understand when it's time for them to get out of the way. I have no problem with somebody like Trump because he's delivering, but a lot of times you get like Joe Biden, on the other hand, he's old and he's not able to cope with things. So, okay. Victor Haddad is the next one on the chart here.
No, I got some stuff with Shriver.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
So I don't know how many. Louisa, do you remember when Shriver was Common Pleas? Were you here then?
I was.
Or not? I mean, municipal.
A municipal court judge, yes.
Yeah. So, and I think that talking to other judges. I mean, Shriver and I go way back. I mean, I used to have a VIP card with him when I was a teenager, and
I don't think you mean it in the way that might have sounded.
No, I mean, no, it was.
It wasn't a very important person.
It was stupid. Yeah, I was very important in the court, constantly in trouble. Anyways.
Okay. You had a gold pass to the courtroom.
Yeah, I mean, it was for always stupid stuff. Like, me and a bunch of guys would go when we were teenagers. We hit garbage cans and we'd get the doing donuts in the Glen Estee school parking lot, and we'd end up in front of Shriver. So, anyways, he was always a good judge. Shriver was a great judge in municipal, and I always appreciate. He was always fair. One time my Ohio license was suspended, so I went and got a Kentucky driver's license, and he was like, "Why?" He made a joke out of it. I did some really stupid stuff, but he was always a good judge. And I don't know, at some point in time when he went to the juvenile, like Louisa said, I think he might be overworked or whatever. But I think it's become more of a McDonald's judicial system over there, where it's like you get them in and get them out, and they're overworked, or their process doesn't handle the volume of cases properly. And I've been with Louisa I should say, what do you think, Louisa? Half the time that you've gone to court, I've been there, maybe
more than half
four.
the time, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I go with her down to these cases, and I watch from just a back end perspective, and it's kind of embarrassing how it works. And then Gary Knepp is, I don't know if he's still there, but he's always on the other side, and he's tired and done. He used to be on the Milford School Board. So I just think the people working in juvenile court, it's needed to be refreshed for years. It's tired. It doesn't just need a new judge. It needs an overhaul.
Well,
so what we do, we spend money and build a new building because that's going to fix it.
Right. It's like schools. That's what we do to schools. Just build a new building. That's going to fix everything.
Well, maybe with the new building, we can get some new faces.
Well, so that, but I think I had no experience with the whole juvenile, any of this kind of stuff. Okay. But my impression is when you look at the stuff going on, and I get people coming to me that a lot of times the stories are all over the floor, but it seems like there's a lot of angst about, Child Protective Services, CASA, the Guardian ad litem program, which I don't even know what all these things exactly mean, but it seems like that's a dimension of that court area that makes it more complicated because you have minor young people involved. It's not all adult, that's where you have the non-adults basically in there. So I think it's an area that we all don't pay close enough attention to, because
well, you know what the problem is, they want to always remind you that it's in the best interest of the child. It's not in the best interest of the child. 4 years that I've spent in juvenile court, it's been in the best interest of my attorney, their attorney, and the sidebar conversations with the judges. That's the best interest of. It's got nothing to do with the child, because when it came to my grandson, who had his best interest, I did. And I had to stand firm, and I had to stand my ground, because these judges, they don't care.
Right.
They have so many. I mean, Bill was saying,
well, you get desensitized. They probably get desensitized to it.
They do. They really do.
And that's not necessarily one of the times Sheriff Leahy, this is a totally different kind of thing, but it goes with this, is that one of his biggest issues sometimes is people that are in law enforcement that should leave. They get burned out, they get overloaded, and they should be willing to say, I've done my time. I gotta move on. Because when you're burned out, that's when you make mistakes, because you're not approaching it from the same way anymore. So,
I think I heard the BJ alarm that Chris interrupted Louisa. Did you hear that, Louisa?
No, I don't know about that.
I did.
It's far away. I got my door locked.
Listen,
so you can't.
when you are spending, like a friend of ours, David Kale, has spent 8 years in court over his son, 7 of those years in juvenile court, and now the last year in probate court, because his son is autistic and he's an adult now, and he has spent almost $200,000. That is child abuse. Okay.
Right.
Juvenile court, that is child abuse. You are taking money away from their child because you're taking money from their parent to provide. So this domestic court, this juvenile court needs to get a handle on this. These judges need to stop being complacent. They need to start making some decisions based on the best interest of the child, nobody else. Not the attorneys, not the judge, the child.
I agree. And we're going to have a special podcast just for Louisa to, okay. Haddad, I'm just going to kind of wrap them up here. So Haddad, do you guys have anything about Haddad either one of you want to bring up?
Other than, I remember when he was a magistrate in a municipal court. No, I've never had any dealings with him.
Okay.
I have had just a little bit, and Judge Haddad has always been respectful to me. I really haven't had any cases in front of him. He's just been helpful when I've had some questions to ask, but that's about it.
So I had a good impression of him, but that's being kind of quickly destroyed by his own actions. So, and I just had something happen where on my private citizen affidavit relating to Colby, he was the judge on that. he did an appointment of a special prosecutor with the Pontius Pilate note on the appointment because he knew it was wrong. But then he did that on, I think, July 16th or so. And then he had a scheduling order. We did all these briefs. And then when it came time, he was supposed to make a decision on October 4th. But when it got to October 4th, what did he immediately do? He recused all of a sudden and announced that all the other judges were recused. I don't know that he asked them. Everybody's recused. I don't know why Brock and Kevin Miles would have to recuse. They've never had anything to do with me of any note or where there be any impropriety concern. But he recused, and guess what? All of a sudden, Judge Hein is the judge. So I think that, I used to, I don't know if you remember this, Bill, but I used to make fun of you, calling you Fighting Ron from the Mad TV series, where Fighting Ron, don't get mad at me now when I bring this up. Fighting Ron was somebody that came in tough and then kind of folded as soon as, and that's what Haddad has become to me. Is he's afraid, I guess he's afraid to be involved with making decisions that could be politically controversial. And that should be a key attribute of a judge, is they do the right thing. And I think that now, and it probably happens to you, Louisa, is that if the case caption has the name Hicks in it, it's going to get special negative treatment by these people. And that's wrong. That's immoral. That's unethical. And we need to be better than that. And what's funny is these judges typically aren't even challenged at the ballot box. Do any of the judges have a
no? And we were just talking about this today. The prosecutor, and I think people watching need to understand this. We have to go out and find more people to run. And here's the thing. Don't wait till the general election and expect to find somebody to run, because they're going to have to be on the opposing party. It's got to happen in the primary. A lot of people, you would think it makes sense to us because we're in this, but a lot of people don't understand. And it's very simple. Primaries is where you got to beat these guys. You got to beat them in the primary, because if you don't, you're going to get a liberal judge. You don't want that.
Well, I don't care. Politics and a judge shouldn't, like, for example, Jennifer Kinsley, who's an appeals court judge now, I never talked to her about her politics, but I believe that she's super liberal. She's a Democrat, but she's a fantastic lawyer and a fantastic defender of civil rights. And I think she sticks to the law, and so there are what I call classical liberals, and so the point of a judge is it should be that they're fair, that they do the job right, that they are not afraid. And my point I was going to make with these people not being challenged is, if you can't make the gutsy decisions when you're not even challenged at the ballot box, when will you make the gutsy decisions? Because when you're not challenged, that's revealing of character. Go ahead, Bob.
I disagree with that, because we're all human, and we all allow our personal beliefs to infiltrate. I mean, judges are not supposed to, and some judges are very, very good at doing it. But when it comes down to the end of the day, and it can be proven by the U.S. Supreme Court, had Trump not put more right-leaning judges on the Supreme Court, Roe v. Wade would not be where it's at today.
I don't think that's the point. See, to me, my thing is, it's not right-leaning judges; it's strict constructionists. Okay, so it wasn't because their political views. There tends to be right-leaning and strict constructionism tend to be seen as being like the same quadrant. You know what I'm saying? But it's that the judges are going to just follow the law as written, and if the law is written in a way that's ambiguous, then try to put it back to the legislature to fix it.
That doesn't happen though. The judges use their
look, Magistrate Masterson, when he found out that I was a Republican and on the Central Committee, that's when things got bad for me in court.
Oh, okay. Then that's somebody that's doing the opposite of that.
That's right.
I think there's more doing that than the other side.
Well, that you can say this too, Bill, because we both have interactions with Jennifer Kinsley as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any question that Jennifer Kinsley's not probably a screaming liberal, okay? But she would work with you or me, even if she doesn't agree with our political views, on that we were being treated wrong.
But that's what
Well-
makes you a good attorney, right?
Well, and that's what makes attorneys make money. So I mean, like you look at Matt Miller Novak, for example. We both have had him as well. Matt is predominantly Democrat. He's a registered Democrat, but I think Matt will take a case. He doesn't care about the politics. He'll take a case because the case will pay him money. He judges taking a case based on can he win or not, and that's what attorneys should do that work in his world. You don't want to take a case that you're going to lose because then you're working for free. So I'm not knocking him for it, but the reality is, if you're going to get a paycheck, you're going to do it.
But you're never going to see, for example, Kurt Hartman taking a liberal person's case. Okay, so there are people that, and when Brian Schreiber was in private practice,
that's true.
So Jennifer Kinsley and Matt Miller Novak, if what happened was wrong in their mind, they'll take the case, but there's some lawyers out there that will only take cases. Brian Schreiber's a good example in private practice. He wouldn't take cases that went against Democrats. He would only take cases that he wouldn't take cases that went against Republicans. He would take against them, except for when they had an axe to grind, like Gene Schmidt back in the day when Schreiber and Chris Finney, were involved in a lot of Hamilton County stuff. So anyway, let's move on to the last judge. Unless anybody got anything else on Haddad they wanted to say?
No.
So Pattison. So I put Pattison on here just as if you guys had any.
Put Pattison on here because of your own personal.
Yes, because I'm not a judge, so I don't have to. So I just put Pattison on there, and I had to find a picture where he's wearing a judicial robe, because he was a judge. He's not a judge anymore. And
he's an attorney.
I'm being come after that somehow I was trying to trick Allison Kursker into thinking I was her attorney or something. So now I'm, becoming a tell-all book like you are occasionally. Is that Gary Rosenhofer claimed to me chapter and verse that Pattison as a judge tampered with evidence in a case, and actually pointed me to what evidence to look for, told me what to do. I went to get it. And I still have to go back and look at it. It's either it was outside the records retention period and it was gone. I know the original versions were gone, and the scanned versions, you wouldn't be able to tell that it had been tampered with. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to see the physical document because it supposedly involved some whiteout and stuff like that on a document. So, but a story like that, if that's a true story, and that's hearsay on my part, if that's a true story, then instead of telling me that, Gary Rosenhofer should have been going to the disciplinary council on Pattison, not me. What you get is this cover-up mentality, and it existed with Jesse Kramig. It existed, and it causes the legal community to effectively do the wrong thing. And it's why we can keep having conversations like this, talking about them.
So George Pattison, I have something to say about Mr.
Yes,
Pattison.
go ahead.
So Mr. Pattison was actually my first attorney for our custody case. And I was blindsided by him because he said, Magistrate Masterson was a neighbor of his and they talked all the time. And, we had it good with him. We didn't have to worry about it. And the next thing I know, we go into court where Masterson literally turned around to George and told George, and Bill, you remember this because we did this on the YouTube video, told George that he needed to rein me in like I was some freaking donkey from Africa. And when I walked,
are donkeys from Africa particularly hard to rein in versus donkeys from other places?
I mean, the African donkeys.
And African donkeys are known for their
stubborn, So he told George that he needed to rein me in. And then that's when he proceeded to take away my passport without absolutely no reasoning. Well, when we came out of court, I said to George, what the F? Does he think I'm some donkey?
So my observation,
you need to rein me in?
My observation is that if you're in a court thing, and I'm not a lawyer, just in case anybody's confused, okay, is that you're best off to a lot of things in Claremont County is not get a Claremont County attorney.
Yeah.
And especially
learned
if the
that.
attorney's telling you on that their relationships are really going to help you out. No, their relationships are going to help them out, not
That's
not
right.
help you
That's
out
right.
because they're part of a club and they're going to play the way the club wants them to play.
And
And when it comes down to it, you're one client, the club is for them forever. Okay,
exactly.
so they can't risk the club on you.
Oh, and you know what happened with that is that we did file for a recusal for Masterson to recuse himself based on him being biased, and
Right.
Judge Shriver turned it down.
By the way, I just wanted to share this as we move out of these judges, is because it's not a judge, and you guys might get mad at me when I put this up here, but this is Stephanie Boyer, the court administrator. This is when she was lying during her interview about Jesse Kramig. And you can see she's sat here and waiting for the chaplain to come visit her to talk to her about telling the truth. And, because that's another part of the court system is the judges are not helped if the people around them are not, of the highest ethical caliber involved in this. Okay. Anything else on the judges you guys have?
Nope.
So let's go to real quick here. Before
I have to say, I did have a very nice visiting judge who got me off on a speeding ticket.
Got you off. Yeah. That means you were guilty.
This story right here is such garbage that women.
For the first time.
Did you cry?
No. Actually, I was willing to go to trial because they said they clocked me by an aircraft.
Yeah. She went in there in a low-cut shirt.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So
she got out of a speeding ticket.
All right.
Anybody?
We know how it works.
How many people in Claremont County? No, this is. I think we spend a minute on this.
I don't even know what his name is. I can't even remember.
She goes in and she says she's willing to plead guilty to, what was it, Louisa, they offered you? You pleaded?
He said I was doing 75 in a 65 zone, that he could do 68. I paid the three miles over the speed limit. It wouldn't be on my speeding record and be done with it.
All right, pause that. So she already had a plea bargain already negotiated. All she had to do was go up in front of the judge. Now keep going.
Judge says to me, "Are you guilty?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Well, then why did you plead?" And he said, "Because if we take this to trial, I'm going to have to subpoena the pilot, subpoena the police officer that's not even here. You are going to have to be brought in again as a visiting judge. It's going to cost taxpayers' money, a lot of money." I said, so I decided to just plea. And he said, "Well, I'm looking at your driving record and you've got an impeccable driving record. So I know you weren't speeding."
All right. This is
dismissed the case. Dismissed.
Okay. Hold on. We got to get done here. Okay. So
that was a hot take.
So this is our hot takes and comments time. Do either of you have a hot take, meaning something you want to bring up?
Yeah,
this is a hot, quick thing. I'm going to time you like 1 minute. Okay.
1 minute. Oh,
go.
The hot take right now, and for those that live in the Milford schools, and actually West Claremont is involved in this too. Which, Chris, you can talk to that. But they're trying to pass an EIT levy. We're pushing to vote no. And just so, we've had 2 interviews with the news. The news has trimmed the interviews to 0. We have no time. The problem is, the schools that aren't fiscally responsible, people should vote no on these levies and push back on the schools to be more fiscally responsible. So hopefully if you live in Milford, you're voting no on the earned income tax levy.
Okay. So you're saying they edited your interviews the same way they edited Kamala Harris's CBS interview to make her look better?
I literally gave the other side 3 times the amount of time and airspace. So it's
they're for the kids though. You're not for the kids.
It's for the kids.
So Louise, you have a hot take?
Yeah, I'm talking about putting out signs. Bill Thomas and I were putting up big Bernie Moreno signs yesterday. Someone made a comment that have we noticed that signs have gone missing out of the Loveland area. I have noticed driving around that a lot of signs are gone. We don't have Trump signs out. I don't understand what happened to our Trump. I see Kamala Harris walls all over the place, and I don't see any Trump signs. If anyone needs signs, come to my shop. 1305.
Well, if anybody
State Route
sees
21.
somebody defacing, vandalizing, or stealing a sign, take a picture. I can't tell you. I've probably done that with you, Louise. I know. Like, did you take a picture?
Yeah, I
No.
do.
Like that. You have this device. You have this device that you can use at any time to take pictures, to take videos, and your first instinct should be to do that when you see any suspicious activity, and so that you're not talking hearsay then. Because I can't tell you how many times I say to people then, well, it's just hearsay then.
Yeah.
If you didn't take a picture of what happened. Okay, but
What is
okay.
the law on removing signs? What is this?
I don't know what the law is, but it's probably criminal mischief or something like that to go take somebody's signs. So that would be a potential charge. But I'm not a lawyer, okay? And I've never been charged with criminal mischief, and I've never conducted criminal mischief.
So that address is Lulu's Hair Studio, 1305 State Route 28. I'm there typically Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have a lot of signs for free that you can take them.
So if you see signs in front of that shop, just take them.
And if there are any in the yard, you can take those. I will replace them. So just leave my big 2 Trump signs I have there.
Did you ever see there was a thing a couple years ago? It happened in Atlanta where somebody put something on Craigslist or something about how the whole house needed to go. Everything was for sale, or everything had to go because they were moving, and the whole all their stuff got taken, and it was the wrong address.
Yeah.
So, any event, you want my hot take? This is a good one. Yeah. Okay, you ready? So
dying.
Tomorrow, I don't think you'll be able to see this. I got to put it. There's a Board of Elections meeting, and I'm going to go there with my Jeff Corcoran sign that I have here. I don't know if you see that. Okay. And so because I've talked to them, Jeff Corcoran knowingly and Rick Grant knowingly have these signs. Let me see if I put it up here right. Have the incorrect disclaimer on them. Okay. It should say paid for by the Claremont County Central and Republican Central and Executive Committee. That's the disclaimer. Who owns this disclaimer? Paid for by the Claremont. I do. Okay. So this is Jeff Corcoran just being an ass, and these people in the Board of Elections with their shills, Brian Schreiber and Rick Grant's the vice chair of the party, and he knows this is not proper. Okay. But I got this one. Let's see if I can hold this back.
Yeah, free speech.
So I also get to highlight. First off, I just want with you guys this bullshit. I'm example of we don't stand for free speech. Okay, we stand for free speech as long as you agree with Jeff. Otherwise, you're going to get the jackboot. Okay,
that's
and
right.
I love this one. The other side of this one. So they're 2-sided. So I had asked the person that got me this one. I said I'd like one that says free speech. Guess what the other side of it is? Because they're 2-sided.
That's a joke.
The chaplain, baby, the chaplain. The chaplain. This is the chaplain sign. So I have 2 of these. So if I have appropriate protection, and we go to Greg Simpson's house to try to drop off the signs, and I stay far away out in the street, okay? Louise, I'd like you to have this so you can take this with the Moreno sign, and I can pull a Trump sign out of my yard. And we can try to get the chaplain to have a law and order and freedom of speech sign, along with a Moreno sign and a Trump sign.
I'm all in.
So that's my
hot
take.
You call him the chaplain.
Free speech.
The
Now,
chaplain.
you know what? I like Jeff Corcoran to actually define free speech.
Why don't you ask him in the meeting tomorrow?
Maybe I should.
What does that mean? Could he give a speech on every saying on one of his dumbass signs? But by the way, I think that these signs are readily available. Okay. Trump signs hard to find. Jeff Corcoran signs, if you want one, I don't know if you go to the headquarters or where, but they appear to be available, and they're not going fast.
Well, they're not really available. I mean, he needs to know who's going to have them. He needs the name, the address, and email, because he wants those back.
You know what I was thinking,
Forever signs.
We forgot to invite Chris to dinner one night. Do you remember the date that we're supposed to invite Chris out to dinner?
His birthday.
Do you remember? Remember there's a thing going on that we're supposed to go attend.
No. What?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you offline. Yeah, remember we were talking about this. There's a meeting of the minds. We're supposed to go to that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You want to be in on this one, Chris.
Okay. Probably I don't. So the
No, you do.
so
Hey,
any event.
We would not put you in any danger in anything that we do.
I don't carry around a weapon. I'm a defenseless individual, and because, and I try to avoid any situation where I'm going to get wrongly accused of something, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think you guys are appreciating this more. My oft-repeated, supposed recording everybody all the time is I record people that lie about what I said in a conversation. That's what the people I cannot trust. And by the way, the chaplain would be one of them. I think I probably told you this. It's for a long time I told everybody this, that anytime the chaplain tried to have a one-on-one conversation with me, if there was any way I could record it, I absolutely would, because he would lie about what was said in the conversation.
Right.
So any other hot takes?
Yeah, I think you should debunk the rumor about you being on the Ken Guy's payroll.
I'm not. I wish I was on the Ken Guy's payroll or somebody's payroll. If you would like to pay me for stuff I do, anybody out there, please contact me. Please contact me. I have never been paid by anybody. And by the way, just so you know,
that's not true. Mark Paquita, you got.
Oh yes, that's true. But I did work for Mark Paquita. But the whole on the activities that I do, I have not figured out a way to monetize them. So if you would like to, be part of paying me to pursue justice, truth, and the American way in Claremont County, please contact me. And Bill and Louisa, at this point, I'll cut you in on part of it. Okay. When it happens. And if you're Ken Geis and you're out there listening, please pay me. Pay me. I need money. So
Chris, you're going to have to change your name to Eugene Hicks, right?
Correct. Louisa's saying, well, why don't we sign off with this, unless you guys got something. My name, I was born on traditional Columbus Day. My birthday, which is October 12th, there is a statue of Christopher Columbus behind me. And had I not been born on Columbus Day, I was going to be named Eugene Hicks.
Can you
I'm
imagine?
named Christopher Hicks because I was born on Columbus Day, so I lucked out.
Eugene Hicks.
Okay, quick closing thoughts from each of you. Okay, Bill.
We do have that event October 26th, the Starlight. Unfortunately, it's sold out. We had 3,000 tickets. All of those tickets are sold, but we are going to open the doors for walk-ins, because anytime you get tickets, obviously some people don't show up. But it'll be at the Starlight Drive-In October 26th. It'll be after the Loop Drive for Trump. We'll end there, and the speakers will start at 12:30 and go till about 3:30. We've got some national people coming, artists. There'll be some singing, some lots of food and fun. So feel free to come out. Parking is going to be fun. Not sure how we're going to handle that yet. I think we're trying to get some buses donated to drive from East Forks Beach area over to Starlight. So that's kind of the plan. But this will be a huge Claremont County event. And I did ask the guys at Starlight, I said, do you think you can get 3,000 people? Apparently they had a Casting Crowns concert there not too long ago, and they handled that volume somehow.
So here is the key thing. Will Jeff Corcoran be a speaker?
No, but the chaplain
be there?
The chaplain's going to open us up in a prayer.
Okay. Okay, Louisa, any thought you want to hit? There's one other thing I want to hit before we hang up. I forgot, but go ahead, Louisa. Anything else you want?
No, really nothing much. I mean, if you see us putting up signs, just honk at us and give us a thumbs up, because it's been quite
I'll give you the year number one salute. So
quite a job to do. So no hot takes.
And then one thing I just forgot, I want to go out, and you were both there, and thank you, Louisa, for the work you did there. I think the cruise in for a first time ever thing with no clue what to do is worked out pretty good. There's a picture of a drone picture of probably 3/4 or 2/3 of the cruise in. We had just about exactly 70 cars, because I had 70 dash plaques and I have just a couple left over. And but the one thing that was not encouraging about it, so Louisa was there. She had signs for all the political candidates, didn't you? Pretty much, but we had 0 political candidates show up. 0.
Even
So
the ones I don't like, I had.
Yeah, well, the ones I don't like, you had. Okay, so but we had no political candidates show up, which just tells you about this culture. I think it was a good event. Had a good time. We sold a lot of food. We actually did good monetarily on the whole thing. But it's just I do some of my best work, out of spite, and just bringing up the point, these leaders in the party are always saying, we got to come together. We got to come together. We got to put things aside and come together. So I think an event that was a great opportunity for our candidates to meet people and to be part of something. They can't do it, probably because, Bill, your commentary, the hatred of me is so great that they would rather, burn in hell than.
Well, you know what? Jeff Corcoran couldn't even show up for Bernie Moreno at headquarters. So that just tells you how he comes together.
He didn't show up because he didn't want to get into it with me, is what I was told.
Oh.
I mean, I would step on him like a bug, but but anyways, to the gentleman that asked about what time it is. So if you go to facebook.com/Ohio Trump Parade. So it's if you go to Facebook, just Ohio Trump Parade is the Facebook page.
So that's a different page than what was used before?
No, that's the Trump Parade.
Okay.
It's the Cincinnati Trump Parade, Cincinnati, Ohio page. There's 16,000 followers.
Okay.
Big event, but they'll have all the updates for the events going to that page. So if you guys have any information on that, it'll be on there.
Chris, don't forget to put up our email address in case someone wants to reach out.
Yeah, so that's the hold on, here it is. So Claremont U at reformclaremontgop.com. Claremont U at reformgopclaremont.com. There's also emails sometimes that get sent out from info@reformclaremontgop.com. If you respond to those, we'll get it too. But this one is specifically around this. And we had the idea of having, educational podcasts until I start getting come after for my legal stuff. But we're going to try to get to that, like court of claims, where to go to, stuff like this. We want to get to that. It's just I have not had the bandwidth. Louisa's been trying to remind me to do this stuff and that we need to do it. So I apologize for that, and we will get to it when we can. All right. Anything else, guys?
And that's it. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest.